Eoin Morgan won the toss and decided to have a bat. Jasprit Bumrah bowled well at the death. Mohammad Shami claimed his first 5-wicket haul. And Rohit Sharma lit up his third century of this World Cup. The wicket of his and Virat Kohli's just turned the tide in an ODI game that ebbed and flowed England's way more often than India's. That results in them taking the points and keeping their campaign very much alive. And the rest of the United Kingdom, Graeme Swann included, very chirpy about it. We'll hear from him along with Melinda Farrell in just a bit. Before that, on ESPN Cricket for Matchday UK 2019, Dan Vittori is here, so too Murli Karthik. Right, very eventful game, good to watch, had its moments, fizzed out in the end. What's the first takeaway for you as to where India have lost this game? I'll start from an Indian angle with you.
A part of you can say that a few too many runs, that is one. But also I would say just the right intent with the bat. We spoke about the fact that will this test India? India has not chased except for the first game, which was probably a lowish sort of a total against South Africa, against a very good opposition, against a very good bowling attack, who wanted to win. Did India have the right game plan, the first 10 overs and then the last 10? Quite a few questions there. Do we have enough firepower in the end if Hardik doesn't fire? That is something which India would look at. Because for me, the intent, you can lose by a big margin, but just the last 5-6 overs, the intent from a few was questionable.
Okay, there are, I guess, three major phases you can look back at. One, the start for the India's openers. Second, the finish. And third, if you go a little earlier, then perhaps the death bowling, where in spite of Bumrah going at 5 and over, India still conceded nearly 100 of the last 10. Which do you think was the more telling in terms of India losing this game?
Maybe not just so much in terms of this game, but I think looking forward as well, I think it's their opening partnership. I think what Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli need is a complementary batsman around them. They need aggressive batsmen so that they can take their time getting into an innings and building, and they do that so well. So I think someone like KL Rahul obviously needs to be aggressive to complement the way those two are playing. And at the moment, it seems like he's trying to play a similar sort of game to Rohit and Virat, and they don't need that because they're good enough to do it. They can take most of the balls. He needs to be aggressive, and Pant can do that as well, and obviously Hardik later on. So I think that's where it starts for them. If they can get that right, then I think everything else falls into place.
Okay, I think we're going to have a more detailed chat about India, but let's not forget that the story of this game is England, who came into this game under significant pressure with Pakistan getting results their way. They got displaced outside the top 4. They had to win. And they had to win against a team that hasn't tasted defeat this World Cup. So it's all to Graeme Swann and Mel Farrell now to take us through just England ticking just about every department today, including, if I may start with you, Mel, that they dropped Moeen Ali for Liam Plunkett. What a masterstroke.
Yeah, well, you know what? Earlier today, Graeme Swann deliberately dropped his mic because he was so upset about Moeen Ali not being in. I'm a little bit worried he might accidentally drop it because his hands have been a little bit clammy during that chase. Hey, Swanee.
I tell you what, the last 15 overs, I'm definitely an England fan. I know that much because I was so nervous. Even though the score was, a huge one, when Pandya started going, I thought, oh, you're kidding me. We can't go out. But thankfully, I got off air, I hid in a corner, I sucked my thumb and rocked back and forth on my knees until England won. And I'm very, very happy. Can I just bring up Chris Woakes? What a performance.
Please bring him up again and again.
With the ball, the first 3 overs, those made fantastic. That catch on the boundary to get rid of Rishabh Pant was just superb and was the first moment when I thought, we actually might win this. I'm actually calm now. My palms are still a bit clammy. I won't lie to you.
And what about Plunkett, Liam Plunkett coming back in? He did justify his selection with a couple of really big wickets.
He did. I mean, Moeen Ali would have won the game more easily, obviously, but Liam Plunkett was brilliant. That's what he does. He bowls in that period. He bowls back of length. This pitch suited him because he can just run his fingers over the ball. Slower balls into a length were very hard to score. He did a great job. We have to find a place, as in England, have to find a place in the team for Moeen Ali and Plunkett, in my opinion, because Adil Rashid on a wicket that was helpful, I don't think he bowled well today. He looked very nervous.
Well, you can't be surprised that he was nervous with defending when you had those kinds of players coming in. But really, the whole thing was set up by Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow earlier on, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and that looks an even better partnership now.
Yeah.
The way the game panned out, the way the wicket panned out, it was not an easy wicket to bat on. Jason Roy, honestly, I'd vote you for Prime Minister at the minute. If you want to do it, Roy, you've got my vote, mate. Get into number 10 after you've won the World Cup. You can sort this country, sort this mess out, because he was just the chutzpah and the verve he brings to the batting, it spreads through the team. And Johnny Bairstow, batting alongside him, looked comfortable, even though he was angry. Got his 100, and then from that platform, England didn't get as big a score as we thought, but it turned out to be a very good total on that pitch.
And what does this do for England now? Because it is still in their own hands. They have a huge match against New Zealand, and they won't know what's going to happen between Pakistan and Bangladesh when they take on New Zealand in Chester Street.
Well, you know, England knew before this game that winning 4 games in a row would win them the World Cup. They've still got to think like that. They've beaten India, who were the best other team in this World Cup, in my opinion. If they can beat New Zealand, and I know Dan Vittori's out there, it will not be easy to beat those boys because they always play above their potential. I think England can have the confidence going forward to say, hey, come on, stop messing around, let's just play like that every day.
What about and also the bowling at the death? I don't think India didn't hit a single 6 in their entire innings. You don't see that happen very often.
No, I mean, once Pandya got out, it took all the steam out of the Indian chase. I think that was more to do with the pitch and how hard it was to come in and strike the ball. So kudos to England. They played a perfect game under pressure today.
There you go, guys. Perfect game under pressure, and Swanee's just starting to get those palms dry now.
Before I let you two go, Mel, I'd love a little word from you on just how the noise just went quiet in the last few overs. There is going to be some conversation around the Kedar Jadhav MS Dhoni partnership, and I don't think, like we've established with Karthik, Dan and Swanee, that that's solely or primarily responsible for the loss. But just take me through what the mood was like in the ground, and maybe a word on from Swanee as well on whether he was surprised with the lack of intent.
Yeah, well, actually, it was interesting. I was comparing this to the other day when Pakistan were playing New Zealand. I'm sure I'll get some stick from the India fans out there. But even though the ratio of fans was similar, it wasn't nearly as noisy. And I think that's because the Pakistan game, they got Amir got a wicket first ball, Shaheen Afridi came in and blasted them away. And from that moment...
You're very brave, Mel.
The whole place was jumping. Well, here it was just... Yeah, I think the fans were nervous. So it was loud, it was very supportive at times, but I thought the crowd was just a wee bit nervous throughout a lot of that. I don't think they ever felt that India was on top of the game, and you could actually sense that. And it's very quiet here now. You really tell, I think, by just the whole atmosphere and the breathing in and out of the crowd. And what did you think about the two at the end there and the way they batted?
Well, with a chase, when you've got a big total, you either get very, very close or nowhere near. And in the end, they got nowhere near. Had Pandya stayed around for 2 or 3 more overs, honestly, I'd still be rocking in that corner in the back of the pavilion. He didn't. He got out just at the right time for England. England closed that well with the ball. Phew.
There you go.
All right, many thanks, Mel Farrell, Graham Swan. Swanee and the rest of England live to fight another day, and that'll be against New Zealand on Wednesday. We'll pick Swanee's thoughts up on that day as well. For now, it's a very happy Graham Swan, and I'm sure very happy rest of England. But in perspective, let's pick up from what Swanee and Mel have ended with. Was it just excellent bowling and well-thought bowling towards the end, which made it very difficult for Dhoni and Kedar to go hard at the end? Or was it just that sort of pitch that got harder as you came in as a new batsman?
I think it was the bowling. I think the back end of Pandya's innings as well. I think he got off to such a quick start. He might have had 30 or 15 balls, but he ended up sort of relatively the same strike rate as Dhoni. So I think it was the nature of the bowling and the fields that they set as well. They brought up everyone behind the wicket, and then they allowed India to just try and attack them straight down the ground. And they took pace off, they bowled wide, they bowled the occasional Yorker, and then they mixed it up with those slow ball bounces as well. So I think the game planning was great. I think the pitch allowed them to play that way. And I also thought that Dhoni and Kedar didn't have the intent. I would have expected to see them clearing their front leg and trying to hit 6s every ball, but there was still a lot of noodling it for one. They just had to go all out to try and win the game. It didn't matter if they lost from that end, because it felt like they were going to lose anyway. Yeah,
we're just going to look at the phases of this innings, and I'll continue this chat with Karthik. Now, there are 2 aspects here. One is that top right, 1 to 10, 28 for 1. You've lost KL Rahul early, but Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma at the crease, and India managed to go just 2 points. Chris Woakes was excellent with the new ball. And then towards the end as well, that we've established. Let's go to the end phase and finish this discussion at the end, and then go to the top phase, Karthik. And what Dan says is he expects a little more intent. Do you sympathize to some degree that while on paper there were 5 wickets in hand, those weren't necessarily wickets that ooze a lot of confidence in Dhoni and Kedar Jadhav?
Yeah, but that's accepted. And as Dan mentioned, anyways you're going to lose, but at least go down fighting.
Yeah.
It was not a question of nerdling. It's not a question of getting a not out there, or the fact that there are 4 more batsmen who are not so adept at batting. but it was just a question of the intent. It's a question of trying to hit balls rather than trying to nurdle balls. Because at the end of the day, whether you nurdle, you're anyways going to lose. At least go down fighting. I don't think they would have won. I'm not saying that you can't blame them for the loss because of the fact that there were quite a few other things which went against India. You can say the extra 65 runs or the extra 40 runs. And I said this, I said extra. Possibly they might have thought that they were 30 runs short the way they had a start. But for India, possibly 30, 40 runs extra. It was the way we started. Possibly could they have shown more intent there? Again, in one-day cricket, in any form of the game, if you allow a bowler to continuously bowl, he's going to bowl.
Yeah.
You have to show some intent, you have to change a few things, especially if you're chasing a big target. If you're not chasing a big target, then you can take it easy and possibly sit on it. But the thing is that the intent is what you're going to question, nothing else.
All right. What about the first 10 then? Because you have India's two best batsmen at that point. Once KL Rahul's gone, was it just supreme bowling from Chris Woakes, or would you have liked to see India get more than 2.8 and over?
I think Woakes bowled exceptionally well, and I think Archer bowled well as well. He was unlucky not to have Rohit Sharma out early. Look, I think it was a nervous start in terms of as soon as KL Rahul got out, it felt like Rohit and Virat thought, we've got to do this. No one else is going to do it, so let's make sure we get through this tough part of the start. We'll get ourselves in and we'll go, which they eventually did, and they played exceptionally well. But that's what happens in big games when the expectations on those two batsmen to play such a big part in winning the game, and I think they put that pressure on themselves. They just wanted to get through those stages, and they did, and they built it, but they needed both of them to score hundreds to give them any chance, and that's really hard to do consistently. Okay,
what do India take away now from this? They've had one game of Rishabh Pant at 4, where he's in a sort of has to go at a difficult chase, and he's managed a 30. Now does that, I don't think that solves any more questions that we had even before this game. But what are the takeaways for India now going into their last two games against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka?
Again, the middle overs, and I would just, again, you spoke about England trying to play this attacking brand of cricket all through on any kind of surface. Sometimes India also has to think about the middle overs. If you're not trying to get wickets, when you're trying to get wickets and somebody's having a go, possibly have plan B or plan C as spin bowlers. I think that's something which they would have to look at, because 20 overs went for plenty today. I think close to 165 runs or something like that. So that is a lot of runs from two strike bowlers. You can't have that. That's, somewhere down the line in big games, that is going to affect if you're not getting wickets. That is something they have to look at. And again, I would say that opening has to be strong, which has not been there. In bigger games against big teams, you want a solid start like what they gave you, what Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow gave you, and we've not had that post Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma. We've had starts. We did start well against Pakistan, but they've not continued. Again, it puts too much pressure on Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is a superman, but he can't carry the entire team on himself every time.
Fair enough. Right, let's have a quick look at the points table. This was a massive game for not just India, but Pakistan as well, Bangladesh. It puts an end to Sri Lanka's campaign, I think, or effectively puts an end to Sri Lanka's campaign. What it does do is give England the chance to even finish in the top two if results go their way, but they have to beat New Zealand now to still keep their plans and their destiny in their hands. As far as India go, they've got two games against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka to come back-to-back games. They're back at Birmingham to play Bangladesh on Tuesday. Viewers in the Caribbean, thank you very much for being with us. We leave you with the presentation that Virat Kohli will have some interesting thoughts on. And viewers on ESPN Cricinfo will be back tomorrow before the start of the Sri Lanka-West Indies game.